what it is.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah,
In fact, it's very, very nice that the students have taken this initiative.
yeah, exactly. This is the way how they're overcoming the
Yeah,
geographical gap and all.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, it's also a learning experience when you are getting opportunity to interact with people from different
Yeah,
areas, different fields.
yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, so that's a very great initiative from your institution.
Yeah, fine. I also asked Dr. Hamid, but he's busy, it seems.
Okay. Okay. Because yeah, the session is starting, so many people will be busy with taking classes and all.
Yeah, okay. I can understand. That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay, fine. It's time. Anchor. Hello.
we should start.
Yeah,
Okay, sir.
yeah. Go ahead.
Very good evening to one and all present here. JKM College of Management, Science Rawat, Principal Academic Director Dr. R. Srikantan Nair sir, our Secretary Sri Narayan Prasad, HOD of B.Ed Department Dr. Mausami Mahato, Program Coordinator, Assistant Professor Anu Mishra, all faculty members of JKM and JK B.Ed College, the non-teaching staff and all the community people present in this ECE program. This evening, I, Archana, student teacher of B.Ed Semester 3, I will be anchoring today's program. The speaker this evening, Dr. Sudha Rawat, is a dedicated scholar in the Center for International Politics, Organization and Disarmament at Jawaharlal Nehru University. For the general information, all the audience, our resource person was awarded PhD on 22nd July 2024. A heartily congratulations, ma'am, from our institution. Dr. Rawat research focuses on the Dr. Rawat's research focuses on the intricate dynamics of gendered violence in conflict zones, with a particular emphasis on the use of rape as weapon of war, with a keen interest in geographical political aspect of warfare. Dr. Rawat's work contributes to a deeper understanding of the intersection between gender violence and international relations. I kindly request Dr. Sudha Rawat ma'am to take over the session.
Thank you so much, and
Ma'am,
thank you so
please.
much for such a warm welcome. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah.
This is first time,
Yes, ma'am.
hearing Dr. Sudha Rawat. It's something I haven't thought about, but thank you so much. I have one small request. Meanwhile, when I'll present, I'll put my camera on off. Sorry, because it's heavily raining in my area where I'm staying, and the network is not good. After presentation is done, I'll switch off my camera. Will it work with the people here?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll begin presenting with my slides. I have another request. I don't know when network will go. Please do let me know if I'm audible or not, whether my slide is visible or not.
Yeah, you are audible and you are visible.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. Even though I have been introduced, but still I have recently completed my PhD, got awarded also, and I'm Sudha Rawat. This particular talk is part of the work I did in my doctoral research. I'm just bringing one of the portion from it here. The title of talk is Geographical Analysis of Gendered Violence, Rape as a Weapon of War Against Women During Civil War. So, I'm sorry. So before moving into the content of this particular talk and also conclusion, I'll briefly discuss background, in general what it looks like violence against females, and then what is violence against female in the war. Also, this talk is different from what I did previously in other presentations, where I have looked at quantity violence, like domestic violence, is one of the major health problem, and also one of the partner violence or non-partner sexual violence in their lifetime. Yeah, it also has been discussed in their publications that worldwide about 27% of females who are in their reproductive age between 15 and 49 have been victim of physical or sexual violence by their partners or maybe non-partners. Violence can negatively affect them, their not only their physical body but also their sexual and reproductive fitness, their mental health, and may increase the risk of acquiring venereal like sexually transmitted disease in some settings, especially such as in refugee camps or in ITP camps, which I worked in my thesis. Moving further, uh, the thing that I have to talk about the general overview of violence against female in peacetime or general time. But in this slide, I'm going to talk about three females from around the globe who came forward to talk about the violence that happened with them during the various stages of the war around the globe. The first is Melissa, who has been, yes, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So first is Melissa, who has been victim of violence against her, basically rape during Bosnian War. I have covered Bosnian War in this talk. The other is Lee, who have been victim of comfort women concept or strategy during Korea. She was from Korea during Japanese imperial invasion in the China and Korea. And then Mary is from Sri Lanka. She talked about how her sister-in-law got raped and how it has impacted her family. So Melissa was a married woman and she was hiding from Bosnian, basically Serbian troops in her house along with other women. However, unfortunately, her attempts were futile and she got captured by Serbian troops. And they have has impacted her family, where her husband has abandoned her afterward. Moving forward, Lee was a barely a young girl, 18 something. She was the first person, one of the three women who came forward before the U.S. House of Representative Foreign Relation Committee about the violation of their liberties, especially civil rights during the Japanese invasion and in the Korea. It happened in early 1940s when she was basically a very poor girl, and she used to work in a factory to support her family. But when she was barely 16-year old, she and her friend were taken by some people from her community to work as a sexual slave for Japanese military, and she works as a comfort woman. But she was taken to many places while working as a comfort woman, and she was raped many times by many men. And comfort, the concept of comfort woman is not only talk about sexual slavery, but they are also kept in what to say sexual camps where female worked as prostitute during this Japanese imperial war. And these female were mostly came from Taiwan, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia. They were have been some of the European women were captured and taken as comfort women to work as sexual slaves. Mostly the women who were comfort women came from Korea and China. Moving further, when it comes to Mary is somebody I have interviewed while doing my fieldwork in Tamil refugee camps in Tamil Nadu. Mary came in India in the late 1980s, and while giving me interview, she talked about that her sister-in-law were captured by, not captured, say taken by the military when she was coming from her university to her hometown, and then she was raped brutally by them in the detention center, which left her family broken. The girl though left the country, Sri Lanka, but it has kind of taken toll to such an extent that her father-in-law died, and her brother-in-law, who was the husband of the girl, has abandoned her, and it has brutally impacted them. That whole family is now distributed all over the part of the world. None of them are together right now. But what does this talk is all about? And when I'm talking about gendered and violence against female, and when I'm talking about geographical analysis, I'm not talking about taking some tools to understand how the violences happen against them. Rather, I'm going to talk about how violence against female is distributed across various parts of the world. In this talk, I have taken three cases, which I'll move right soon. And while doing this gender analysis of the violence against female in various parts of the world, I wanted to establish the connection between female, their bodies, and how if rape happened to them impact the family and the community, and overall this idea of the nation, which was the broader key concept in my thesis. Moving further, one more thing that I have left, because when I talk about violence against female, I have talked about how generally it impact female, but it's also important to kind of understand how like it's just basically an accentuation of patriarchal understanding of female body, the violence that happened with the female in the wartime. It's like it's all about the normalization of gender based violence that kind of reinforces male dominance and female subordination, which is basically systematic inequality, which provide a foundation for sexual violence to be seen as an acceptable means of exerting control. Especially during wartime, the conflict kind of disrupts social norms and legal protection, which accentuates such kind of violence against the female body. And also in conflict, in my research, I have noticed that sexual violence in conflict is not only used to kind of inflict violence against females, but it is used as a tactic to assert power and control and demoralize enemy community and destabilize social structure. So it's why does this happen? That's also very important, because in my work I have seen that there is an understanding of female body, especially in traditional society, that they are the repository of honor and shame. So once a rape happened against the female, it does inflict harm to the honor of the community, which leads to the breakup of the families and community, and can harm to the honor of the nation. This is how I have proceeded in my thesis. And here also I won't look at data rather than talk about how the violence against females has manifested in the three wars. I might be repetitive because I'm feeling a little nervous seeing so many people here and from different part of the India. I was not expecting such a good crowd. But thank you so much for coming, everyone. So Darfur is a region in between Sudan and Chad in Africa, and I am why I brought Darfur because it is one of the latest conflicts of 2003, where the violence began when peripheral armed groups, including Sudan Liberation Army, Justice and Equality Movement of there, which is JEM, launched attack against the Sudanese government in Khartoum. It is like an ethnic war there. The government, dominated by Arab leaders, sought to expand and control the resources in the peripheries, particularly in Darfur, which is a multi ethnic region located at the western part of the Sudan, surrounded by Chad, I have already said, and Libya and South Sudan. The conflict is the result of basically an ethnic division between the communities there, and it is also fueled by systematic historical violence which is perpetrated by government and their military forces against the ethnic group located in the Darfur. What's important for me is to understand that during the conflict, women and children were disproportionately affected. They have faced severe violence, including rape and other forms of sexual abuse. Even children had faced the rape in the war. The Sudanese government and the militia, affiliate group of Sudanese government, have targeted the ethnic groups, especially the African tribal, which were living in this area, especially their women, as a part of broader strategy to ethically clean the Darfur and to have their own control over the region. women were raped. They were also, I came across in my research and in various reports that here women were raped in front of their family to kind of demoralize them and to control the main member of their family, the community, by effectively forcing them to kind of flee the area, which help in their broader agenda of urbanization of the Darfur region. So moving further, what did the rape did here? It has demoralized the community because females were raped or were raped in front of family member with an intention to kind of humiliate and break the spirit of the ethnic tribal groups living in the Darfur region with the broader idea of to use this rape to kind of control and instill fear within the civilian population, and this kind of helped in them fulfilling their idea by forcing the civilians to leave their home and territory, which kind of have helped them to control the region. So basically idea was to rape, to make people flee, to then control the region. Moving further, same tactic was also adopted in Bosnian War, but Bosnian War happened before Darfur War in 1992-1995. It was an ethnic conflict that erupted after the disruption of Yugoslavia. The war happened between the Bosniak, which are Bosnian Muslims, Croats and Serbs, which are the ethnic group of the region, against each other, which has led to severe and widespread violence in that region. The idea of violence was to kind of have ethnic cleansing and genocide, where the Serbian forces have perpetrated notorious atrocities against Bosniak Muslims, especially female. And while writing this particular chapter, where I have discussed the pattern that I have observed during Bosnian War, I have observed that at initial stage, where females were targeted, kind of how to say, when they were like but initially they were targeted while looting the material and property of the family, and in some cases they were raped. But as the war proliferated further, as it has reached the other further part of the region instead of being in the center, the first pattern that I have observed that women were raped in the home where the men in groups, both Serbian and Croats, have entered in groups in the home to rape female. And the story that first we saw of Melissa was one of the kind where she got raped in her home. Moving further, another pattern that I have observed while reading the text on Bosnian was that females were raped in their neighborhood in the places such as schools, workplaces, prison, open spaces, street, and farmland. Furthermore, third pattern that I have observed where females' body are employed in the war was that setting up the detention center and rape camp where females were captured and raped at rampant scale. Moving further, there was another pattern I observed that is like in making impregnation a strategy by raping female and giving birth to the bloodline which is different from the Bosnian Muslim. And also the most vehement was that female were kept as sex slaves in hotel and rape camps where they were raped. They were forced to give birth to the children different from their own ethnic group. So what did it show? It showed that the places which are once private spaces like home have converted in, which talks about how honor and shame used as strategy by the Sinhalese government to make Ireland a more singleized version than earlier. I have also kind of attempted in my work to understand how Tamil women's body became site of violence and what role did their rape played in the violence against Tamil in Sri Lanka. So I have interviewed many females. around 50, 54. I have also interviewed people online. I have also like using digital means. I have interviewed lawyer, activists, and people who have fought cases for survivors of the war. Similar to Bosnian war, because my work is very large. I can't kind of talk 250 pages within 10 minutes, but I'll just briefly look at the pattern that I have observed. In my narrative, similar to Bosnian War, I have seen how the violence against female has moved from the public to private spaces. There are reports which talk about the female have been taken to camps and detention center like the Mary and her sister-in-law. Her sister-in-law was taken from train to detention center where she was raped. Even her father-in-law was targeted by. He was blamed being when he tried to kind of take her daughter from the detention center. He was labeled as somebody who is supportive, supporting the tigers. So they have been molested, they have been abused at checkpoints. They have also abducted from the checkpoints, and I'm talking about the Tamil women. Then in my narratives, I have also found out that trains, bus stop, and theatre also emerges as places and spaces where Tamil females have been targeted during the Sri Lankan Civil War. Moving further, while meeting some of the refugees in the refugee camp, they also told me that when there are some cases where females are also targeted in their neighborhood, especially in those villages where the houses are abandoned by people, Tamil people, when the war was at highest peak. And then at the end, homes were the most important aspect in my research, where I tried to understand how battlefield has moved from battleground to home. In my research, there are many participants who have pointed out that they have seen, they have heard, they have also heard rumor that females are abducted. Narrative where a female have discussed, a participant have discussed that she have seen where a younger was basically raped in front of the villagers in Sri Lanka in mid 90s. Also, this this particular map which I'm showing here is, if you can see it clearly, it represents dots, and this region shows the northern and eastern part of the island. So Shillong the Tamil group and then largest majority ethnic group. The Tamil people demanded their own homeland, especially when they felt they were highly discriminated by Sinhalese policies such as language policy and citizenship policies, and then because Sinhalese were the majority group representing the government, and then educational policies in 1970s. It was also 1970s when the government people from Tamil community first time felt the need for their own nation, because they believed that this region, the northern and eastern part, as you can see, the northern and eastern part is the place where they have been residing from centuries, and this is the place which kind of is a representative of their rights and aspirations. They started demanding for a separate nation from 1970s, 70s, and that is known as Tamil Elam. So when I was collecting the data, my motive was not to prepare a map like this. Rather, my motive was to do a qualitative study and talk about narratives and the pattern that kind of comes from it. But while doing this particular study, I also came across the data from various sources. I have compiled them. Then I was able to get this much rape cases that happens against Tamil women in this region, which forms the basic homeland of Tamil during the war. So one dot, which is a green dot, is doesn't talk about the location, rather it is randomly distributed across the various districts. But one dot talks about the many rapes happen. It talks about the 50 rape case that happened in that particular region. So you can see this Jaffna region, which is in the northern part of the island. this forms the historical capital of the Tamil kingdom, the older ancient. This is also the cultural capital of the Tamil region. So most of the war, and also during the wartime, this was the theater of the war where most of the war happened. And you can see also you can see the concentration of the particular dots in that region, which says that how many rape have happened against Tamil women. Moving further, what did I have said till or talked about till yet is that rape that happened against the female during war were not just a byproduct of the war. Rather, they are the deliberate strategy for what? For fulfilling the agenda of kind of terrorizing a population by breaking down of their families, communities, and villages. Because in such communities, which I have discussed, also in many communities, I have observed that females make up the honor and of the community, and if they are dishonored, that also leads to the breakdown of the families. This also leads to the dishonoring of the families and communities and villages. Not only this, the rape also kind of causes issues such as loss of reproductive fitness of females. For example, I have interviewed a person based in one of the part of the world. She was sexually harassed during the war in still capable of having kids further. So it shows that the rape in the war can deeply impact the reproductive capability of a female, which can do leads to the destruction of the group if the females are not considered kind of carry forward the group. And also destruction of the group doesn't only caused by the lack of fitness of female, but also because it's also leads down to breakdown of family because of dishonoring of the families. Moving further, but I don't only want to talk about the kind of violence that have manifest within with the females in the war and how does it impact family and the community. But I also want to talk about consequences of wartime violence, which I didn't talk in my thesis because I did not have idea about what kind of people are going to come to attend this particular talk that I'm presenting for a college where a college students are coming. So I thought kind of to tell a little bit about how it impacts people who are part of a community. Especially it impacts female. I have talked about how it impacts their physical health, their psychological health. They also face social stigma and isolation. It does impact families, which I also talked about by disrupting their cohesion. Especially they may struggle with emotional intimacy and parenting, especially survivors, that affect their relationship with the family member. There is also while meeting people in the Tamil refugee camps, I have observed there is a transgenerational trauma which persists there, which passed down from generation to generation from has been passed on the people who first came to the refugee camps, then to the grandchildren. Because in the refugee camps, there are families who have their third generation now living in the camp, and they talk about what they have experienced in the war, and their children also know, their grandchildren also know on the kind of trauma their grandparents have faced in the war. Also, it may lead to social silence, because I have observed silence in my work a lot, especially when I attempted to interview male people, male member of the Tamil community. They were very silent. They gave me interview when I talked about human right violations that happened against them in the war. But whenever I put a question or rape, all of them decide like kind of didn't talk about it. So they just talk about silence in many families. Second type of silence that emerged while I did my field work was that many families who have experienced the um, have experienced rape or sexual violence, or any member of them has experienced, they remain silent because fear of stigma and social ostracization, especially among Tamil communities where female are considered as embodiment of their culture trait and social capabilities. Especially for societies, it I have talked the sexual violence can cause social fragmentation because it not only humiliates them but it also terrorizes them, which causes the breakdown of their family. Also, when it comes to economic impact for society, it can can cost a lot of money when it comes to medical treatment, psychological support, and legal investigations. Further, for economy and state, wartime sexual violence can cause severe human rights violations for society. Government often fails to acknowledge or prosecute these crimes. Also, I have observed in Sri Lanka, especially one of the participants who have got a case for a survivor of the war, rape of survivor of the rape of the war. She said that government has kind of failed to persecute the people who have committed crime against. It causes economic burden on the state and community, and when it's come to long term impact, if these crimes are not effectively addressed, it can lead to long term instability and recovery problem in recovery. In conclusion, what I can conclude is that rape and sexual violence and other forms or other kind of violations female faces in the world, such as murder, torture, mutilation, were not incidental consequences of war, especially when it's war fought between various faction groups. Instead, these methods are very intentional, used to kind of control, terrorize, and expel the targeted government and community by kind of violating their females. Uh, Before ending it, I do really want to talk about a very important aspect here is that I believe that, like, why did I did this research? It not only to kind of talk about what happened with the Tamil women during the war, but also I believe to effectively eradicate such kind of violence against women in the war, it is very important to kind of act, you know, to act against them and then act how to act it. I think as a researcher, we can, with our research, help in um, talking it at international level. I remember there's one of the convention came forward, which was CEDAW convention, which has included a lot of narratives from the researcher to kind of obligate states to ensure gender equality and eliminate discrimination against females during the war. There was also they can, as a researcher, I believe our research can help in coming forward resolution which can help women and girls during war, armed conflicted, and also can help their participation in the peace process. And also, I believe by addressing these issues comprehensively, we can work toward a future where such crime are condemned and actively prevented. So, yeah, I hope like we as a human we keep working toward or keep bringing some framework which can help female and can help in developing new frameworks and paradigm to confront these issues in the war and can help female live happily and peacefully. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your knowledge with us. Indeed, this session was an eye opener for many of us, I believe. Now, the session is open for discussion.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Sonali.
Yes, ma'am. I, Sonali, student teacher of B.Ed semester 3. Ma'am, my question is, in what way can media reporting on rape as a weapon of war be improved to support survivors and bring perpetrators to justice?
Can you repeat again because you are not audible to me?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
In what ways can media reporting on rape as a weapon of war be improved to support survivors and bring perpetrators to justice?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yes, ma'am.
Sonali, it's a very interesting question because I believe this has been asked by me also every time I give a presentation or somewhere talk about violence against females. I think media is the way through which this kind of incidents come forward. And I remember when I was talking to the activists or the lawyers, have helped the one of the cases. The various reporters, which initially the reports against the violence that happened with these women whose case was fought came forwarded by media, not only media but also international agencies. Their reportings has been used to kind of fight war against the perpetrator, kind of fight this particular case against the perpetrator. So I believe their initial reportings are very important in fighting with the for the case against the violence that happens with the females. This is something I have came across in my thesis. I hope I am able to answer a bit to your question because it's itself involved for me to study and understand how media can further help out in providing justice to the survivors of the rape in the world. Sonali?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hi, ma'am. This is Ranjan speaking.
Yes, Ranjan.
Ma'am, actually, I'm talking beer semester one, and I want to ask just about Tamil women. They are getting any kind of support from the local government
In Tamil Nadu?
in Tamil Nadu?
Yeah, definitely. Like, let's say, it's a very interesting question. I couldn't cover it, and I was also very anxious to see such a good crowd coming here. I don't know whether I was able to make any sense of my slides or not, but let's come to the kind of benefits they got. Firstly, the people who have arrived in Tamil Nadu, they got a hut. In not initially they got, but now they are living in refugee camps across various districts, and they have a hut which is very small for a family, but they got a place to stay. If we compare with the other refugees, because I have also worked on Rohingya people, they didn't got this benefit. So I'm actually I'm kind of grateful because I have met these people to the government of Tamil Nadu because they have provided hut where females or males are living. There are many female headed households whom I have visited in refugee camps who are running their own household. First benefit, they got housing. Second, that government have given is giving them assistance in getting medical help. So they can go to government hospital and get medical assistance if they need. So I remember one of the participants is suffering from diabetic and she get subsidize medicine for diabetes in government hospital. Second, third, they also avail cash door. Like I don't know the amount, but I think the every person gets 1,000 rupee a month, and a female who is running the household she gets more than men to run the household. Apart from that, they also get ration. They get
Okay.
free bus service, and also they have free electricity, free water. That's it.
Okay.
These are the things I have observed in the camp.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, sharing this. But we need to spread this news more than more. Then mass in mass level we can help that type of women.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, we really need to kind of talk about it. We don't talk about it. Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Ranjan.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Pawan.
Any more questions?
हेलो 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 मैम।
Yes, sir.
मैं सुमन, मैं सेमेस्टर 3 बीएड का स्टूडेंट हूँ। और
Okay.
जब आपने जो जो इन्फॉर्मेशन हम लोग को दिया, ये वाकई में बहुत सुंदर था, बहुत ही जानकारी था, इसमें बहुत कुछ था और हमें बहुत अच्छा लगा, हमको बहुत समझ में आया बहुत सारा कुछ। और मैं मेरा सवाल ये है कि जब हम लोग का वार होता है कोई दो देशों में, या फिर जो जो आपने बोला जो श्रीलंका में वार हो रहा था, तो जब होता है वार तो हम लोग देखते हैं कि जो मतलब मिलिट्री लोग होते हैं, तो वो मतलब उस जिसके विरोध में वार हो रहा है उसके मतलब सिविल लोगों के साथ, उनके देश के लोगों के साथ पूरे एग्रेसिव हो जाते हैं। मतलब वो उनका वार जितना मतलब वो उनका दुश्मन हो जाता है कि ये पूरे लोग ही बुरे हैं, चाहे वो महिला हो पुरुष हो जो भी हो, तो महिला पर ही ज्यादा वायलेंस देखा जाता है। तो सरकार का उस समय पर जब वार जो दोनों गवर्नमेंट है बड़े मतलब सेंट्रल लेवल में, उनका क्या रोल हो कि मतलब इस तरह का वायलेंस ना हो, मतलब वार को रोक, मतलब वार को जितना मतलब जैसे महिलाओं पर अत्याचार हुआ जा रहा है, तो मतलब मिलिट्री लोग उस पर एग्रेसिव होने लगते हैं, महिलाओं पर भी बाकी लोगों पर भी, लेकिन महिलाओं पर ज्यादा। तो उस समय पर जब वार हो रहा होता है तो उस समय सरकार का क्या रोल होना चाहिए कि इस तरह का रेप केसेस ना हो, ताकि उसका क्या रोल हो, क्या क्या कुछ लॉज पास करना चाहिए या फिर कुछ ऐसा? मेरा ये सवाल था।
सुमन, ये तो बहुत ही अच्छा क्वेश्चन है, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि जो मैंने अपनी ये पूरी रिसर्च की है, जो शोध किया है, कहीं ना कहीं मैं हमेशा से यही कहना चाह रही थी कि क्यों ऐसा औरतों के साथ में ही, है ना? जब भी कोई गृह युद्ध होता है तो औरतें ही क्यों बन जाती हैं बेसिकली विक्टिम्स या फिर सर्वाइवर्स, जो उनके साथ हो रहा होता है। पहले तो क्योंकि आपके क्वेश्चंस में, आपका जो एक क्वेश्चन है उसमें कई सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं, सो मैं एक एक करके जो मुझे समझ में आ रहा है मैं उसका जवाब दूंगी आपके सवालों का। पहले तो जब श्रीलंका में गृह युद्ध स्टार्ट हुआ, तो वहां पे वायलेंस सिर्फ एक तरफ से नहीं हुई है ना सुमन जी? वायलेंस दोनों तरफ से हुई है। जो तमिल मिलिटेंट ग्रुप्स थे उन्होंने भी एट्रोसिटीज कमिट की है बहुत सारी अगेंस्ट सिविलियंस, लेट्स से तमिल मुस्लिम्स और मे बी अदर मुस्लिम ग्रुप्स, सेम एज दे आर, बहुत ज्यादा वायलेंस कमिट किया गया है गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से अगेंस्ट सिविलियन तमिल पीपल। सो वायलेंस वहां दोनों तरफ से हुई थी। सिविलियंस टारगेटेड और भी तरीके से बन जाते हैं, क्योंकि मिलिटेंट ग्रुप्स होते हैं वो उनका फायदा उठाते हैं, उनको एज शील्ड बना लेते हैं, और जो आर्मी होती है वो मिलिटेंट ग्रुप को बेसिकली हटाना चाह रही होती है, तो वो बीच में फिर आ जाते हैं। और भी कारण थे श्रीलंका में, बिकॉज जो वॉर हुई थी इसमें मेन कारण जमीन थी, भूमि की। जब तमिल्स ने कहा कि मुझे ये हमारा नेशन है, हमें सेपरेट नेशन चाहिए, सेपरेट कंट्री चाहिए, और जो सिंगलीज थे जो बेसिकली आर्मी को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे थे, आई वोंट से कि सारे सिंगलीज आर्मी थे, बट उनका जो मेजोरिटी ग्रुप था इट वाज dominated by Sinhalese group, because वहाँ की population 74% सिंगला है and 11 to 14% is तमिल। तो उनका ये मानना है कि जो श्रीलंका है वो उनको खुद बुद्ध भगवान ने दिया है, ताकि उनकी जो बुद्ध भगवान की जो शिक्षा है उसको बढ़ाया जाए आइलैंड पे। तो उनके लिए वो एक बहुत ही सेक्रेड प्लेस है, बहुत ही खास जगह है। तो उनका जो वॉर जो हो रही थी तो उनका कहना था कि ये हमारी जमीन है तो ये हमें चाहिए, तो दे स्टार्ट टारगेटिंग द सिविलियन ताकि वो वहां से चले जाए। अब मुझे लगता है सरकार को, क्योंकि मैं आपको सुमन एक बार बताती हूँ कि जब मैं अपनी रिसर्च कर रही थी तो दो क्वेश्चन जो थे वो मुझे हमेशा से परेशान कर रहे थे। पहला सवाल ये था कि मैं क्या कंट्रीब्यूट कर रही हूँ उस रिसर्च में, मैं जो बोल रही हूँ क्या वो कुछ फायदा देगा या फिर वो ऐसे ही है, जो कि मुझे नहीं लगता कि मैं पूरी तरह से जस्टिफाई कर पाई हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे और रिसर्च करने की जरूरत, तब मैं बता सकती हूँ कि वायलेंस अगेंस्ट वीमेन को कैसे एंड किया जा सकता है। पर ये जरूर है कि अगर जो भी इंटरनेशनल ट्रीटीज बनती है, अगर उसमें हम सिग्नेटरीज होते हैं, तो हमें उनका, अगर हम उनका पालन करें तो वायलेंस अगेंस्ट फीमेल या फिर किसी भी सिविलियन के अगेंस्ट नहीं होगा। दूसरी चीज है गवर्नमेंट लेवल पे, अगर हम उन रेप्स को इग्नोर कर दे जो ह्यूमन टू मैन होता है, सॉरी मैन टू मैन रेप भी हुए हैं श्रीलंका के वॉर में, लेट्स से हैपेंड बाय अ सिविलियन अगेंस्ट अनदर फीमेल, लेट्स से नॉर्मल टाइम से जो रेप हो रहा है, लेट्स से जो भी एक पर्टिकुलर पर्सन ने कमिट किया है आउट ऑफ लस्ट अगेंस्ट तमिल फीमेल, जो कि उसको हटाना और भी मुश्किल है, क्योंकि वो एक बहुत ही घनिष्ठ पेट्रियार्कल थिंकिंग है अबाउट मेन एंड फीमेल, जो कि हमारी सोसाइटी में भी है, दैट फीमेल्स आर कंसिडर सबऑर्डिनेट टू मेन। उसकी वजह से बहुत ज्यादा डोमिनेंस होता है फीमेल बॉडी पे एंड वायलेंस भी होता है। अगर हम उस जो पैटर्न को अगर हम तोड़ पाए और गवर्नमेंट अगर उसमें उसको तोड़ने में कहीं ना कहीं मजबूत हो जाए, तो फिर वायलेंस अगेंस्ट फीमेल नहीं होगा, चाहे वो वार है, वो चाहे वो पीस टाइम हो। तो गवर्नमेंट कर सकती है ये, if it start teaching its own people not to kind of commit, and also restrict heavily its own army not to commit any kind of violence against civilians. सुमन, मुझे पता नहीं
यस
कि मैं
मैम।
किस तरीके से आपके सवाल का जवाब दे पाई, पर ये सवाल बहुत ही गहरा है और इसके ही बारे में सारी रिसर्च हो रही है।
वेरी नाइस मैम, बहुत बहुत अच्छा मैम, बहुत अच्छा। थैंक यू मैम,
शुक्रिया।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू।
Any other questions, students?
I think there are two people who have raised their
Yeah,
hand.
your
Soma.
hands are raised.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, Rimil.
Yes, ma'am. I am Rimal Biswas, student teacher of BEd semester 3rd from JKM College. My question is that what policy changes are needed at local, national, and international level to more effectively address rape as a weapon of war? Am I
Rimil,
audible, ma'am?
yeah. This is the question. Very interesting one. To kind of जितनी बार भी मैंने अपना प्रेजेंटेशन दिया है, मेरे से सिर्फ एक ही सवाल पूछा गया है हमेशा, कि आपका क्या पॉलिसी इंटरवेंशन है। और मुझे लगता है रिमिल, मतलब मैं जो जवाब आपको दूंगी, वट एवर आंसर आई एम गोइंग टू गिव यू, इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू मेक सेंस टू यू, बिकॉज when it's come to policy intervention, I I am lacking, because I don't know what kind of policies my work can help to make. But I think one is very important is to kind of come with the legal framework, like legal framework which criminalizes all the form of violence against women, including domestic violence, including sexual harassment, including human trafficking. And we should not normalize violence against women, particularly in communities also. If there is a legal framework which can enact or enforces and criminalizes all the form of violence against, it won't move beyond the peaceful time to the war time. And also to have, I believe there should be legal definitions and protections against all the, which are inclusive, cover all women regardless of their status and background. So if they are the two things, I think should have legal framework, and also that include all the form and all the kind of violence against female and all the kind of females, then it may help to kind of criminalize and also stop violence against them. But even if it happens, we can also provide support services. So I think having some shelters or fundings or counseling, it will be helpful, especially those people who are, victim or became the victims of the war. And also having a legal framework, not in the sense of having treaty or enactment, but also kind of providing them justice, then providing a legal support for providing them justice also becomes very important. But everything apart, one and most important thing is to having awareness and providing education to local people, to own people, to the families, to to males, to females. That's what I believe. To have kind of awareness campaigns where we really need to change societal attitude and norms that perpetuate violence against women. We really need to condone, and for that we need awareness, and that awareness might begins from family, might begins from our own brothers and sisters. That we really need to do, and we really need to train people when it's come to law informants or judicial. We really need to train judicial personals to support female in such kind of time. And apart from this awareness and having legal framework, we also need to have I think economic empowerment is very important to, because if a female is empowered economically, she might be able to, change the discrimination that happens against females in normal time at grassroots level. So these are the things which came to my mind when we're talking about the policy intervention. But when it's come to my work, I'm still lacking, and I really need to do more field work in order to bring forth policy intervention. Because if I talk about policy now, it is basically a copy of a copy of policies which came during the various wars of the world. So I hope, Rimil, I was able to answer your question.
Yes, ma'am, you have answered very well. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, I was.
Any other questions? Anyone? Any other questions?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, actually, mine is not a question, but a confusion. I think
Yeah.
as Sudha has done her research on the particular area, and she has gone to the minutest aspects of micro level testing and all, and I think she can clarify the position well. So my concern is, see, there is a saying that war. And did you ever come across with any democracies going for war and doing this type of rape in the victim areas as a weapon of political weapon of suppression or something like that? That's number one. Number two, if it is used as a rape is used as a weapon, my question is it a political weapon or a racial weapon? For example, the distinction between is very clear. Take the example of Sri Lanka. In the context of Sri Lanka, the racial animosity is very much rooted in their history and as well as in their nerves. It is there. So this without this racial animosity, no weapon of such a rape will be used. So then it doesn't mean that the state apparatus is knowing these things. It may be the military, or it may be the wing of the military, or it may be a paramilitary section which is doing it. So there I would like to distinguish between it is using as a political weapon or a racial weapon. If it is a racial weapon, normally that is a question related to their position of democracy as well. I think I'm trying to relate that rape being used as a weapon relating to the mature position of a democratic society or a non-democratic society. I think Sudha can clarify it. Did you get properly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, democracy going for war is a difficult one to answer. I really need to study, sir, for that.
Yeah.
Even if I have an answer that goes to World Wars and Cold War, I don't want to go that back to kind of
Yeah.
answer it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but rape as a political weapon, that I believe, like you talk about that, like rational weapon and political weapon, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Racial. Racial.
Racial. So
Yeah.
I believe it's more like a political weapon,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the war, because in the traditional communities, especially like South Asian communities, which is part, like Sri Lanka is also part of it, that the rape doesn't only mean that it is harming a particular body. It also means harming a particular community. So when it is harming a community and it leads to the breakdown of the family, as I have observed in my research, in the narrative I have gathered, people, this rape also led to the breakdown of the family, where people are not distributed in various parts of the world, or they don't talk about the violence that happened against females. They don't feel comfortable, not really comfortable, they feel shameful, ashamed, and not talk about it. I think in such a setup, it is not a rational weapon, it's rather than a political weapon. And also, so it's very difficult to question your answer a question, because in order to understand whether it is a political weapon or a rational weapon, I really need to interview people who are part of the group who have committed the crime. So I have looked at the narratives, which is I have get the narrative from the people who have been the survivor of the war, not one who have perpetrated the war. So it's very difficult to kind of answer. But since you have put such an important question to me, I'm literally going to go back and think how does the war that happened against Tamil women or rape that happened against Tamil women is whether it is a political weapon or it is a rational weapon. For me, it's
Okay,
very
that's fine.
difficult right now to answer,
Yeah,
sir. But
yeah.
I
Okay,
am
good.
definitely going to
Yeah.
come back with this answer.
Okay. Okay, that's great. That's great. And you have done a very good job, in fact.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, sir. I was a little anxious when I began. So
Yeah. Normally, these are all our normal students and all.
yeah,
And you have gone over the last 4 5 years. You have gone through the grassroots level, and
yes,
the type of information you have cannot be compared to others.
yes,
So
sir. Yes, sir.
you are, you are always at the helm of others, right? Okay, Adia is raising her hand.
Atiya Parveen has raised her
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Atiya.
Ma'am, my question is why rape is used as a weapon of war in civil conflicts and what are the implications for international law and justice?
So you have basically questioned me what I have been talking about, Atiya.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yes,
yeah, you have basically questioned me like why it is used a weapon of the war. So when I considered, I talked about it doesn't. I don't want to again speak the same thing, but it is that it do lead to. So let's say, Atiya, because your question is the basic framework of my thesis. What I did in there, what I understood from the fieldwork I did, is that in my case, the rape that happens with the family, it leads to the happen with the female in a family. It causes the shaming of the family to such an extent where family deliberately leaves the place. Why? Firstly, because it makes a female socially unfit to be the part of the community because they perceive, especially Tamil women, as I have. That's also not the case with everyone because there is a case which went opposite to what I have researched. So, what it causes? Because the community preferred the chastity and purity of the female body. Okay, so female body who have lost the chastity because of a rape by an external member from a different community, it causes the loss of the honor of the family, which may lead to the, especially if it's a young girl, making her unfit for a social marriage. And if it's a married woman, it lead to ostracization of her from the family. In such case, what happened? It leads to the shaming of the whole family, where family choose to kind of leave their family where they live, leave their native place where they're living. For example, one of the participant I have interviewed in my work, he out of fear of her daughter, because he has four daughters, being raped in the war, left the place. So that's out of fear. What happens to the family, which is already where the female is already raped? So, like the case of the Mary, where her sister-in-law was taken from the train when while coming from her university to her hometown on the ground that she had participated in the protest against the discrimination that is happening against Tamil. They have taken her from the train, took her to the detention center, sexually violated her. Even when her father-in-law tried to get her daughter out of the detention center, they have branded him as someone who supporting Tamil Tiger, which is one of the high like militant group who participated in the war. It has led to the rape that happened with the girl led to the breakup of her engagement and the death of her because her father-in-law could not consume that her daughter got raped. He died out of that particular of what to say pain or trauma. So it has break this family. So this is how rape has operated in Tamil war. One way, fear, people have left. Other way, it has got where people have died and family has moved to the other places just to hide it or maybe to avoid having it further. So it has led to the abandonment of the villages and it has happened at the large scale because I especially when the war began around 3 lakh people came to India initially when the war began. Then they moved back when the peace talk has started, but they came again and then they moved to the different part of the world. It does had impacted their population. The population data which is collected in 2012, the census which happened after 1918, doesn't show much impact. People have showed by researcher basically that millions of people have thousands of thousands of people have moved from their places. So it leads to amendment of the villages, basically the breakup of the family, and then like breakup of the community and native places of villages. If it's happened when there is not much people in an ethnic group, because this pattern has been observed there. It leads to the what to breakdown of the proper ethnic community or ethnic group. This is how rape kind of contribute to ethnic cleansing in the war. Let's say it happens at the large scale. This is the two cases I have talked about. If it's happened at the scale of where in my cases you have seen the dots, the green dots, which I have shown in the map. This much, this many females are raped. I don't know how many have moved out of India. Sorry, Sri Lanka. How many have moved to India? I have no idea because even though I got a chance to meet two rape victims, in my research I have called them survivors of the rape. But I have got to meet them, and they I got a chance to meet them, but they didn't give me interview out of fear and social stigma. But let's say it happens at the large scale and a huge number of people moves from a place, it leads to complete breakdown of that particular community. This is how I have observed rape contributes to the as a weapon of war in ethnic cleansing in the war. So Atia, what was your second question?
Ma'am, my second question is, what are the implications for international law and justice?
Um, See, there are many laws which came forward. Basically, this acknowledgement of this that rape is a weapon of war came very late in 2000s. Even though there has been deliberation discussion since 1993 when Bosnian Rwandan war happened, but we are, I think, at international level, we still need to work a lot, Athiya, a lot, because there are only two, three legal framework. There are only one international justice tribunal which talk about um, uh, all the wartime crime, including sexual violence. But at international level, we are actually far behind in implementing whatever laws we have. We really need to work, and there are a lot of reports of if we read, they are talking about and they're working for coming with the policy which can actually. It's very difficult question, Athiya, because there are legal laws, there are various enforcement. However, they are not working that the way they should work. Imagine what is happening with the Gazan women during right now in Israel and Palestinian war. Imagine what is happening with the female in Ukraine. Same as in Latin American internal wars are happening. See what is happening with the female in Haiti. What happened with the Rohingya women in Myanmar? Some of them are part of this enforcement and legal framework, but they are not implementing it. Problem is implementation. It's not about interventions only. So how do we enforce these signatories to kind of implement these laws? That matters, I believe, more than kind of coming forward with the legal interventions. Atia, is this something you ask? Oh.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, no question, you can wind up.
Okay, sir. Now, as we are moving towards the end of the session, I would like to call Sonali Bhagat from B.Ed Semester 3 for giving a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Archana. Hello everyone, good evening. This is Sonali Bhagat, student teacher of B.Ed Semester 3. It's an honor for me to deliver today's vote of thanks. I'm really happy to share that the talk by Dr. Shudha was perceptive on the subject. We have all been educated by your in depth research and insightful observations. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time and making the efforts to share your knowledge with us. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. R. Srikantan Nair, the Principal and Academic Director of the JKM Group of Institution. It's not surprising that we always struggle to find words to express our gratitude to him because, sir, your mission to empower every student in unparalleled by any other individual. I'm personally very thankful to you. My sincere gratitude also goes to our Secretary, Sri Narayan Prasad. Your presence and words constantly inspire us to achieve higher. My profound appreciation also extends to Dr. Mosmi Mato, our head of the BA department. Your direction, unwavering encouragement, and drive have been crucial to the success of this event. I would like to thank our ECE coordinator, Assistant Professor Anu Mishra, from the bottom of my heart. Your behind the scenes effort and commitment has been instrumental in its success. I also want to thank all the instructors, students from various colleges, and community people who came to see us today. Your enthusiastic involvement and active engagement greatly enhanced our conversation and educational process. I would like to express my gratitude to all faculty members of JKM and JKB8 College whose assistance and participation has been important in the program's successful completion. We would especially want to thank our anchor, Ms. Archana, our technical team, and committed volunteers. We sincerely appreciate all of your hard work in setting up and running this webinar. Finally, I would like to express my genuine gratitude to each and every participant for their insightful and thought provoking questions, which greatly enhance the effectiveness of this session. Again, thank you all. Good night.
Thank you, Sudha.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us in this particular talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha ma'am.
Thank you, Sushma. Thank you, Archana. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity.
Fine, fine, fine.
I'm leaving, sir. Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you, Sushma.
Maushmi is there. Maushmi is there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can. I think if the resource person has gone, we can have organizers meet. 5 minutes.
Okay. It is live going on.
Hmm?
Uh,
Okay, okay, okay. Just, yeah, you